It's another bright and early morning, and we're going to begin today's devotional. Before I do, I just want to remind everybody, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. Please give it a thumbs up, like it, share it, ring the notification bell so that you don't miss any future videos or devotionals that we'll be doing. The title of today's devotional is Surrendered in the Garden, Strengthened for the Cross, and we're going to be coming out of Matthew 26. Matthew 26 captures a turning point in Jesus' early ministry. This is basically the shadow of the cross is looming as he prepares his disciples. He endures betrayal and ultimately submits to the will of the Father. This chapter challenges us to examine our own hearts. Do we recognize the weight of what Jesus bore for us? Or are we surrendering our will like Jesus in Gethsemane? Or are we like the disciples, asleep in moments that require spiritual alertness? Matthew 26 is a very long chapter, so I'm not going to actually read the whole chapter in the essence of keeping this devotional shorter. But I want to encourage you to pause the video right here and actually go through and read Matthew 26 before we proceed much further, so that you have an awareness of the events that are actually happening. And once we're done with that, I have some key passages that I want us to reflect and focus upon this morning. The first point that I want to reflect on is the extravagant worship that we witness in verses 6 through 13, where a woman pours out costly perfume to anoint Jesus. Now, the disciples and all the others that were standing around watching this considered this to be wasteful. This perfume was expensive, and their thought was, why did you waste this perfume? We could have taken this and sold this and made it and got in a lot of money. But this woman's act of worship reveals the heart posture God desires, which is unrestrained, sacrificial, and centered on Jesus. How often do we hold back our best for fear of others' opinions? Lord, help me give you my best time, gifts, and heart regardless of what others may think. The second passage I want to reflect on is the friend's betrayal. In verse 14 through 25, Judas agrees to betray Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. Betrayal is always painful, but coming from a friend, it makes it unbearable. Yet Jesus still shares a meal with Judas. What grace, what restraint. Jesus models love even when rejection is imminent. The question I have now is, can I love those who wound me? Point 3. In verses 26 through 30, there's a section of the Last Supper where Jesus institutes communion, foretelling his sacrifice. Every time we take the Lord's Supper, we're remembering the broken body and blood that was poured out. Jesus invites us into intimacy, even while knowing we're frail and prone to falter. So pause before your next communion and deeply reflect on the cost Jesus paid for your redemption. In verses 36 to 46, we see Jesus in the garden, and we hear the prayer of Jesus in the garden. Jesus agonizes before the Father, wrestling with the cup that he must drink. This is one of the most human moments of Jesus. He pleads for one another, yet ends with, not my will, but yours. True surrender often happens in private, agonizing prayer. In my book, Purpose Driven Legacy, there was a section that I wrote about this, and I was just envisioning, had I been there with Jesus, just, as an observer in this moment. And the term Abba, which means Father, in the Hebrew language that they spoke, is a term of endearment and grace. So when you hear Jesus saying Abba, Father, I do believe that there was a pause between that, where the weight of the world just rested upon his shoulders, and in that moment of just heart weakness, Jesus just poured out and said, Father, take this cup from me. But he knew what the Father's plan was. He knew what he had to go through. He knew what had been prophesied, and at that point he submits his will to Christ. This NIV version talks about Jesus prays this prayer three separate times. So you could just see how hard how heavy of a weight this was upon him. And ultimately, it talks about how he says, not my will, but your will be done, and accepts the fate that his Father has for him. In verse 47 to 75, we talk about the arrest and the betrayal, where Jesus is betrayed, arrested, and denied by Peter. Even the boldest follower, which was Peter at the time, denied Jesus 3 times, despite promising to never fall away. Yet Jesus would later restore him. Failure isn't failure with God. He redeems and restores. If you denied Christ with your actions or silence, know there's still grace and a path back. Matthew 26 isn't just about Jesus' suffering. It's about his love, obedience, and unwavering mission to save us. Let it inspire deep worship, sincere repentance, and courageous surrender. Jesus, thank you for your sacrifice. Help me to worship you extravagantly, love others unconditionally, and surrender wholly. Strengthen me to stay awake spiritually and follow you faithfully, even when the path is hard. Well, I thank you for being here this morning for this devotional and tagging along on this ride. I really do love this community. For anybody that's coming across these videos, I thank you. I pray that over time you would continue to follow these devotional series that we're doing here, and that they would speak to you, and that you would apply these principles to your life, and ultimately lead to the fulfillment of a godly legacy that is rooted in the identity that Christ has for us. I thank you for being here. And again, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Give me some likes, comment, let me know what this passage meant to you, what you thought of it. Every one of these likes really helps the channel, particularly in getting the message to a broader audience. And I thank you for your time, and pray that you have a blessed day.